Welcome to the mainstream, Saxon. Despite all beliefs that curtains closed on the Morgan and Saxon show, we're back.
We're back. Hat trick. 3 in a row.
I like it. Well, of course, Daniel Wild, the regular host, he's away for one more episode, so bear with us for the next 40 minutes because we've got some great topics to talk about.
You do.
But first, we recently, just start off with a light one, we recently had one of the biggest sporting tournaments in the world wrap up this week with Kiwi Ryan Fox taking home the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale, England. Well, where did you think I was going with this?
The World Cup, clearly.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the World Cup.
Or even Essendon winning a game, but the World Cup.
Don't get me started. The James Hird watch is real.
Still
I'm on it full time. But
so it is on hold for the moment. There are no new news since we first brought that up. But yeah, the World Cup just concluded. It was a strange World Cup. I will admit that I do enjoy my soccer, but I'm a passive supporter. I'll watch the Premier League if Manchester City are doing well near the end of the tournament, and I'll watch the World Cup. But I mean, it was enjoyable. Good.
I mean, I admit my interest in the World Cup usually only extends to the Socceroos. So I tend to only watch the first half of World Cups.
Fair enough. If that.
I think we made it out of the group stage this year, so that was pleasing to see. Now, on the topic of sports, we did have a win on the home front in the last 2 weeks. Now, as you all know, in 2021, Cricket Australia had stopped referring to the 26th of January as Australia Day, arguing that it was hurtful to do so, and for the past 2 years has gone even a step further by refusing to schedule games on the day altogether.
Yep.
Now, in a massive turnaround, Cricket Australia has declared it will schedule the final of the Big Bash League on the 26th of January, which is a win. And initially, Cricket Australia was reportedly committing to a culturally sensitive presentation of the Big Bash final. And it must be said, the messaging was all over the place. Initially, it appeared that the national anthem would not be sung. And then they were saying that it would be at the discretion of the host city. And then Cricket Australia were hitting out at reports that the anthem wouldn't be sung, despite actually not rebutting those claims. And then the Cricket Australia chairman, Mike Baird, reportedly confirmed in private that the anthem would be sung. And that hasn't been rebutted yet. So it looks like the anthem's back.
Yep.
Cricket on Australia Day is back. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Will they actually call it Australia Day?
I suspect what will happen is they'll play the game, the Big Bash final on Australia Day. They will have the national anthem. But I suspect, and they can prove me wrong, that they will cowardly not refer to it as Australia Day.
Yeah.
They will say, we're just singing the national anthem as we do with any Big Bash final, and it's just another day, which is simply not true. Australia Day is Australia Day. And it's the marking of the birth of our nation.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weak, isn't it? Because
that's a lot of corporate wokeness is. Yeah. It's backed up by a lot of ideologues in the political space, but ultimately, corporate wokeness is brought about because you have gutless people heading corporates who don't want to upset these, screeching woke people and activists. But then what they end up doing is anger literally everybody else, the vast majority of Australians, the vast majority of Australians like Australia Day, an increasing proportion like Australia Day.
And young Australians.
As well. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the ACTU and their plans. But also, most Australians like the national anthem.
Yes.
You wrote a monograph on the
in History's page. Check it out.
Yes.
Download it at the IPA website.
Yes.
But that's right. Yeah, it's a large majority of Australians believe it. That is the national anthem, and they believe that it unites Australians.
And it's similar proportions for both.
And
the support for both are roughly the same.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah. I just like what you said about the weakness of a lot of these corporates and administrators, and I think they must get so scared of, the sort of real fringe minority of people that occupy Twitter or X full time, that they appoint these, internal working groups to manage these issues, and it's like they're the ones making the decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
This was the story in Cricket Australia. There was a cultural sensitivity work group within the organisation, which essentially came, no, we're not. No, you can't talk about Australia Day. We find that offensive.
It also doesn't help that when the national test captain is also one of said screeching woke people. But also like senior players like Usman Khawaja as well is one of these players. Was one of these players. He's now retired. But Cricket Australia actually have to recognise that most people consider cricket to be Australia's national sport. It may not officially be, but because it lacks real competition in their season, during their season of summer, it is the most popular sport in Australia, and our national sport should support and be surrounded by our national symbols. It should be a uniting force. You shouldn't have a national sporting body try to divide us.
No, ashamed of the nation,
and it's be ashamed of the nation.
Come on,
when they're the national sport.
Yeah,
like it's all ludicrous. And this is even represented in sort of the meek backstepping away from it, even, Mike Baird reporting it in private.
Yes.
They're going to do it. Instead of just saying, we are the Australian cricket team and we are the national sporting body.
Yeah.
We will have our national anthem played on our national day.
Yes.
And
we're not ashamed.
And we're not ashamed.
And we recognise the 80% of Australians who believe Australia Day should be celebrated on 26th of January.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we stand with them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, now, speaking of institutions which are ashamed of our national symbols, we've got a story from the Australian Metal Workers Union coming out.
The manufacturing
Workers Union.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I've created a union out of whole cloth. No, thank you for the correction.
Yeah.
Now, they've proposed a motion at the ALP National Conference this weekend that the Union Jack be removed from the national flag. And this follows earlier reports of a draft policy platform that will be debated at this conference, which rededicates the party to the principles of the Uluru Statement of the Heart, commits to developing an anti-racism strategy, and formalises the party's support for Welcome to Country ceremonies. And you can check out the previous episode of the Mainstream where we discuss these ideas. But clearly, you have to understand that the national conference of the ALP, this is the base of the Labor Party. This is the main... Which
is much more powerful than the base of other parties.
Yeah, that's right. This is the real sort of agenda-setting body of the ALP, and clearly right now it is very motivated about propagating some quite radical ideas.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, we were discussing it last week. They want to get rid of Australia Day. They want to bring back the voice to Parliament. They want to do an anti-racism strategy, to make us equal by dividing us. But I'm not surprised at all, and I think it just shows how radical the Labor Party have become. I think. I mean, we've often said at the IPA that this Albanese government is not similar to previous iterations over the last 50 years. That they're closer ideologically to Whitlam than they are to, say, Hawke or Keating or Rudd or Gillard, and they are trying to reshape the country while they have this power. And
off the basis of a primary vote of about 34%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's all ridiculous. Yeah. I think Australians also like our flag, at a similar rate to the ones that like our anthem and like our national day. So that the Albanese government, or the Labor Party, I shouldn't say the Albanese government. Now that the Labor Party are going to hear these ideas from their powerful representative bodies, which have a humongous say over the policy platform of the country. No wonder people are looking for alternatives, people that stand up for mainstream values, people who are actually proud of our symbols and proud of our country, because, and Dan Wilde says this often, is that, Australia is not perfect, but we are without peer. And to absolutely hyper-focus on those imperfections instead of focusing on what makes us great and what makes us a great country
Yeah.
is, the Prime Minister constantly talks about, the opposition and One Nation talk us down and talk the Australia down. Well, I think we actually need to talk about the political party in the government that's actually dragging us down, because noticing that things are bad is nowhere near as much of a sin as actually making the bad things themselves. And I hate it. It actually really frustrates me when the government's like, oh, they're actually noticing what we're doing, and that's a bad thing. I'm like, no, what you're doing is the bad thing.
Well, you better introduce misinformation laws.
Oh, exactly. Control the parameters of debate, which is what we were discussing last week.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's it just says so much about where these trade unions are at.
Yeah,
this is
this is specifically gripes me because this is the manufacturing workers union. You know what's destroying manufacturing? Net zero. Why aren't they knocking on the government's door and saying, why do we still have net zero? You can't have a manufacturing base when you have electricity prices climbing through the roof. And no, we need to get rid of the union.
We're going to pitch in about the design of the flag, which has been settled for 120 odd years. It's extraordinary. But then, this is like no wonder that there is a sort of realignment of politics happening right now. These are the trade unions. This is meant to be the working class base of the Labor Party, and they're completely focused on fringe ideas, and they're completely up for grabs.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's extraordinary, and well, this actually ties into our next topic.
Yes,
because as on the day of recording, so Keir Starmer's premiership of the United Kingdom has ended.
Yep.
He has said, quote, signing off, he said, "My work here is done." Good job.
Did you see the reports that he there were memes going around that he reportedly went straight to the pub afterwards. Now, I don't know if that's real or if that was just a joke, but it was very funny nonetheless. I mean, if you've just been,
hard day's work,
if you've just been dumped by what we're going to talk about as a complete ideologue, why not?
Yeah.
But great old British traditioners clocking off at the pub.
So he's out now, and it seems like he's pretty much said, my life in politics is over, and I think a lot of people breathe a sigh of relief. But in steps Andy Burnham. Now, Andy Burnham, just a matter of some weeks ago, only entered Parliament, or re-entered Parliament, and before he was sworn in, he gave a speech which the Telegraph described as the most radical. The ideas would make it the most radical left-wing government in 40 years, and Burnham praised former Labor leader Sir Neil Kinnock as his inspiration, and pledged to roll back, quote-unquote, neoliberalism, whatever that means. We'll see what that means. But in particular, to nationalise public services. And in his speech, Burnham said that it was, as Labor does, they sort of railed against Margaret Thatcher. And he said, because of Thatcher, the country had, quote, surrendered control of the essentials: housing, water, energy, transport, and left people exposed to higher costs. Now, I'm sorry, I can't believe this stuff. Does he actually believe that the privatisation of public transport is the reason that the public is so dissatisfied and feels so unrepresented by the political class at the moment? Energy has been dictated by the political class to meet
for the last
erratic and incomprehensible goals
for
decades.
Years,
What is he on about?
Yeah. For someone that was in, Tony Blair's cabinet, he has such excessive memory block over the kind of decisions that have made and the centralisation of a lot of public service in the United Kingdom under the government that he was a senior member of. This sort of shift that's likely going to happen under Andy Burnham, I find very similar. And especially the economic principles are very similar to that of the Albanese government and Jim Chalmers. This sort of return to 1970s Keynesian style economics, where everything, well, not everything, but a large portion of the economy is centralized, where a large portion of the jobs in the labor market are some way related or directly related to government. And we know what happens, and we've seen this before. The reason that government leaders and thinkers like Thatcher and Reagan liberated the economy was because of the economic principles and the economic policies of people like Jim Chalmers and Andy Burnham. So, and the fact that he has to go all the way back to the 1980s to say that this is what's wrong with our society is is ahistorical nonsense.
I think I mean, look, there are criticisms that can be made of the decisions of previous governments. No one's immune from that. That's, no one's saying that. But, talk about misdiagnosing the situation. I mean, he hasn't, I had a look, I still couldn't see anything he said explicitly about what he would do about migration, about a particular sort of illegal migration issue in the UK, about two-tier policing, about the two-tier justice system, about police knocking on people's doors at 2 a.m, about social media posts. All of these are big fundamental issues in the UK that really explain why the traditional party system is collapsing, and why things like Reform UK are in the position that they're in. And it seems like, I'm not sure, because the Labor Party, appointed Burnham as their leader. I think there was an article in the Times by Linton Crosby who he makes the point that the Labor Party, they're just chasing polls. I don't know how much they actually believe, but clearly Burnham is a believer in this left-wing direction. And this sort of this nationalizing government sort of command and control direction. So they seem to be thinking that the solution is to go to the left. Is to go even harder to the left. That's where they're seeing their salvation.
But also, there's such a big sell in the 2024 UK election for the Labor Party was that we're not like those Corbynites who ruined the party in 2019 and led to a historic loss. We're reasonable people with reasonable economic ideas. And now that was entirely proven, that has been proven untrue over the last couple of years. But now they're not saying we're not just liars, we're actually the opposite. We have never believed in being reasonable economic thinkers. We're actually going to go the other way and recreate the problems that arose and led to the necessary reforms under Thatcher. This has come when the centre-right is split, and which means it's actually going to become a lot more difficult to introduce those reforms needed from the same problems that are going to arise from the economic ideas of Andy Burnham. So I think the UK is in for quite a problem because they're not actually addressing the issues as you've identified, and they're actually going to bring new ones to the fore. They're going to bring new problems while adding to the existing problems.
I think it's extraordinary. I mean, and I feel for them because this guy he's sort of just entered Parliament and taken control of a party which itself its vote was about 30-odd%, but when you take out the people that didn't vote, it was only about 20% of eligible British voters actually voted for this government. And this guy wasn't even in Parliament.
No. So a person that wasn't in Parliament for a party that's not actually as popular as it seems in the House of Commons is now going to completely upend the mandate, or I would argue lack of mandate that they had when they had won that huge majority. I actually think that it'll be a short sigh of relief that Keir Starmer is gone. I think give it a few months and Andy Burnham's polling will be down in the dumps.
We will wait and see.
Thank you for watching The Mainstream. If you like what we do, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and head over to the IPA website at ipa.org.au to see our research and analysis and support our work by becoming a member. Now back to the chat.
Now, back on the domestic front, domestic politics, Saxon, I know you wanted to talk about the blow-up between Angus Taylor and Alex Antic. So
Yes, so
hit me with it.
I don't. So maybe it's not a blow-up, but there's been there's been a bit of back and forth via the media about whether the coalition should merge or with One Nation or work side by side with One Nation, or perhaps even doing a non-compete clause essentially between electorates with One Nation. And this has come to the fore because Senator Antic has at times put forward the suggestion that, or at least reported that, that there could be a merger in South Australia, or they could work together in South Australia, or a deal. And then Angus Taylor has quite strongly in the media said, no, there will be no deal. And I tend to agree with Angus Taylor. I don't think there should be a formal deal. Yeah. I think it should just stay with preferences. And I don't think this because the deal will benefit one party over the other. I actually do this because I don't think the deal benefits either party, to be honest. So One Nation has a base and a brand that is ultimately separate from the Liberal Party, in my personal opinion. I think that the appeal for One Nation in outer suburban seats is not something that can be achieved by the Liberal Party, and would be something that would potentially be diluted if they if they had a deal or permanent coalition with each other. And similarly, there are some seats that the Liberal Party may want to win back in teal-like seats. Now, for the long-term health of the Liberal Party, I don't know how beneficial it would be to go for those hard. But if they do, I don't think that benefits them to also be in cahoots with One Nation either. So I think there's a natural natural tension that exists.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about that natural tension between outer suburban and regional and inner city seats for a long time through the lens of net zero. But I think that it'll probably be the benefit of both if they worked separately during election, but if the centre-right were able to work together within the realms of Parliament whilst between elections, that would be beneficial. Because what I will say is that One Nation talk a lot, and they are right to talk about this, that the Liberal Party need to stop attacking them more than they attack the Labor Party. And I think that's certainly true, because ultimately the Labor Party are in government, and you know what the Labor Party want most from the Liberal Party? For them to attack One Nation. Because they don't want to do it, because ultimately, if the Liberals are attacking One Nation, it means they don't have to, because it just splits the right even more.
I would make one point about Alex Antic is, he's a senior figure in the state South Australian Liberal Party. Now, what's unique about South Australia is that there's not a significant national party, and not a national party in Parliament.
Yes.
Which exists in, say, Victoria or New South Wales. So, there is space. There is almost like a gap in the market currently
for that position.
For that sort of special purpose constituency representation. Maybe. But it is like South Australia is unique in that sense, that it is really just the Liberal Party alone on the centre right.
Yeah.
So, is he wrong to entertain the notion of making a deal? I don't think so. I think why rule it out? It does.
Well, I think maybe a hard and fast ruling out may not be the idea, because you might be closing a door. But perhaps, I don't think that a national level deal would be preferable.
Yeah.
But maybe at the state level in South Australia, it could be.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. But this is Angus Taylor did rule it out.
Yes.
He was quite firm.
Yes.
And I can't imagine that that's the right approach. As you said, I think the fact that Angus Taylor was attacking Malcolm Roberts by the same terms
as
the media and the Labor Party were, I don't think that reflected well in the way that it was done.
Yeah.
Whether or for context, this was Malcolm Roberts had made statements claiming that deaths in the early stages of COVID were faked. Something to that
Something
effect.
to that effect.
Now,
and then there was some other controversial comments made about Alex Jones and and the mural that's widely known or alleged to be anti-Semitic. Now,
but it is interesting. Like, the most prominent thing that was reported in the media, though, was the thing about COVID deaths.
Yes.
Now, I could think about a lot of times that governments did lie during COVID. Which I'm much more upset about than what Malcolm Roberts said. and look, Alex Antic, all he said, like what he said was, he just thinks Malcolm Roberts is a good guy.
Yeah,
like I don't think it was really like
a staunch defense.
I don't think so. Like, he was sort of just, they probably do have a pretty good relationship. They serve in they serve in the Senate together.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity came for Antic to stick the boot in, he probably said, "No, I don't really want to."
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's fine. I don't think, it shouldn't have gone any further than that.
No, but it's become a bit of a bigger thing than it has.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of this? So it really does seem like that there is a split in how the Liberal Party is approaching the One Nation issue.
Yeah.
So I think there is a contingent that would be more like Alex Antic, which is no. There is a place One Nation has a constituency, and their concerns are valid, and the policy concerns they have ought to be represented, and they might say that we should be representing those, or that faction or what have you ought to be, but that's the challenge they have. But it also seems like Angus Taylor is lining up behind this other. The other side of the party, which is, I think they see. I do. What do you think of this? They see One Nation as being sort of on the ropes, and they think that, like, they're just a few sort of attacks or missteps away from going away, and it's sort of back to business as usual.
No, I think they would be foolish if they thought that. Even though there have been a couple of missteps recently, but I don't believe the One Nation phenomena is going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Because
if it was, it probably would have happened already. Yeah. It's been a year of consistent high polling, and I don't think, because the One Nation surge represents something deeper than just discontent with a specific Liberal leader. It's not 2008 anymore. It's not 2009 anymore. It's not the same where a change in leadership from Turnbull to Abbott catapulted the polls because you changed a rather unpopular leader with someone who can actually swell public support. And it's amazing what happened when the reverse occurred just 10 years later, like close to a decade later. But if it was just the case that it was, the leader's fault and, they just needed someone charismatic to turn the tide, we would have seen it because they dropped Susan Lee for Angus Taylor.
Yeah.
I don't see it going away because these polling represents something deeper. People are deeply unsatisfied with with business as usual.
Yeah.
And if it's going to take a lot more structural than just a misstep or two from Pauline Hanson or from Malcolm Roberts or from Barnaby Joyce or from whoever affiliated with One Nation to turn that around.
Yep.
I don't see it happening.
Yep. No, I think that's very fair. Now, I wanted to ask you a question. You're talking about business as usual. Well, net zero is a business as usual policy among the political class.
Absolutely.
But we've seen something quite interesting last week. So the CSIRO, which is a government agency, released its annual Gen Cost report, which is an annual economic assessment of the current and projected costs of electricity, like running the electricity system in Australia. Now, you might know this report because this is the report that gets published every year, which affirms that wind and solar renewables are the least cost energy system that you can have.
Yes.
And we've said that is completely flawed
Yep.
because it doesn't account for the way wind and solar raise system costs.
Yes.
So at an asset level, they may be cheaper at an asset level, but once you account for the need for storage and the need for new transmission networks and the need for accounting for the fact that this is a variable supply, you're abandoning baseload supply for variable supply and variable demand. It's completely flawed, and we've made that point. And in this year's Gen Cost report, they have actually essentially conceded that. And they've introduced a new measure, the system levelized cost of electricity, if you want to look it up. But this is better captures those concerns that we've been talking about for a couple of years now, which is how wind and solar actually affects the system.
Yes. So this does better account for the system cost of the renewable transition and of net zero. It's not a full concession of their flawed methodology previous reports, because they've still included it in this report.
They just have both measures.
No, they just have both. So the Greens and Renew Economy and whoever can say, "Whoa, it says the same thing we've always said." But so they're trying to have a foot in both camps in this, when actually you just have to you have to announce that one methodology is better than the other, and clearly how inputs of energy interacts with the system clearly increases the cost of electricity.
They're misleading. Like this is the whole game, right? So they for years they'll say. And they're tricky with their language, because they'll say things like, "Well, it's the least cost way of achieving net zero." It's like, okay, that's great, but that is a high cost objective.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Everything.
So even on your flawed measure, like the fact that is your objective is also a problem.
Well, also, what should the objective of energy policy be?
Yeah,
it should be, as most Australians expect and want, for the grid to be reliable and for power prices to be affordable.
Yep.
Australians do not want the objective of energy policy to be net zero. As we discussed last week, the last time on the pod, 8 in 10 Australians want reliability and affordability to be the objective of energy policy. And only 2 in 10 want net zero.
Yeah.
And yet the CSIRO are talking about energy policy and the cost of electricity within the realm of what 20% of Australians want.
Yeah. This is like, and that 20% seems to occupy the sort of strata of the political class that unfortunately makes these decisions.
It's a funny correlation.
But
it's a funny correlation with what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, wow,
the
that's
national
right.
flag, Australia Day, the anthem, net zero.
Yep. Yeah, funny that. Or maybe not so funny.
Maybe not. Yeah, it's quite tragic, actually. The other thing I actually wanted to bring up, speaking about elite concerns, is COP, the climate conference.
Oh yeah.
So the Australian reported yesterday, so July 20th, at the time of filming, that the climate change minister, Chris Bowen, is also the part-time climate change minister. He's also one of the many presidents of COP for the next edition in Turkey. Has has set for us taxpayers to pay $4.2 million to lock in accommodation for foreign bureaucrats at luxury hotels in Fiji.
In Fiji,
not even here. It would be a disgrace if they were, giving them accommodation in luxury hotels in Australia, but it's in Fiji.
Yeah.
So for a pre-COP conference, not even the COP conference, which is in Turkey, as we know, a pre-COP conference, something that could be done over Zoom.
Yeah,
they are shacking them up in a luxury resort in Fiji. And people have the gall to complain about Pauline Hanson having a holiday.
Yeah, well, and it's really that whole thing. Like, we're funding foreign diplomats to stay in a foreign country.
Yeah,
like this is I think I interpret this as like being part of our foreign aid program.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah,
this, like
exactly.
this is the sort of thing. We talk about foreign aid, and you think like you're feeding starving kids. Actually, no. What you're doing is like
Yeah.
you're giving Fiji a bucket of money
exactly.
to
Well, I'm
host foreign diplomats. That's just like for a total
yeah
nonsense fest.
Yeah. So I'm a little sympathetic for giving Fiji a level of foreign aid because there's soft power. There are soft power benefits to doing that. But this is not that. This is not that.
Yeah.
I'm all for building infrastructure in Fiji if it means that China doesn't have a base there.
Yeah.
Like that's soft power that has a genuine benefit
Yep.
to Australians.
Yep.
But this is not that. This is literally just bringing in a bunch of foreign bureaucrats who are not Fijian, I assume, to stay in Fiji, to have
to discuss ideas about how to make us poorer.
Yeah, exactly, and not just make us poorer, but also the rest of the world on top of that as well.
Yeah.
So it's completely ludicrous.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, time for one more topic,
Of course.
that I think you wanted to touch on just before we wrap up.
Yep. So this whole ISIS bride, which is a statement I don't like. They're actually ISIS supporters, and potentially ISIS fighters returning to Australia. I think that we need to have a serious discussion about how we can prevent this from occurring again, and how we could actually reverse what has already occurred. So there have been. So this has come into the news because one of the ISIS brides were granted bail.
Yes.
Despite, as the Australian said, allegedly teaching children jihad. Now, I already think it's a disgrace that she's in the country again. But it's even more a disgrace that that she's been allowed to come into the country and then also be granted bail. These are people that have supported like the worst organization in the world almost. Like, the Islamic State was a serious terrorist organization that make the likes of, Al-Qaeda blush. Like this is an organization that ran like an Islamic fascist state across Syria and Iraq. And even though that they were doing that, these are people that left the country to join them. I think, the government must explore provisions for us to denaturalize people who do this in the future, and to people that have done it in the past.
Yeah.
I think we need to create a change in our existing laws to do this. And if the government say, oh, well, the High Court has claimed that we can't do this. The High Court can't actually direct the government to spend money. Yeah. So if the High Court say, well, you actually need to allow people to come home, for these people to come home, that means, well, we don't actually have to spend money to send them passports, for example.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is another 80-20 issue.
Yeah,
at least.
No, I think it's this might be 95-5.
Over backwards for ISIS brides is that is the wrong side of the 95-5
exactly.
issue. But it's like always, the government gets it wrong.
They're so passive,
and at all levels. Like the courts bailing the ISIS bride. How can you not see that this is not difficult?
Yeah. It's wrong. These are people that hold beliefs that are not just incompatible with mainstream Australian beliefs. These are just mainstream global beliefs. I think that it's a disgrace, and the government must do something. And if it requires a referendum, I think this is actually one of the few cases where a referendum would actually
it might actually pass.
It might actually pass because who are you offending by saying, people who leave to join terrorist organizations should be denaturalized?
Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? Like, and the whole idea of being a citizen is that you
have rights and responsibilities,
and you express loyalty to the crown.
To the crown. Yeah.
And if you do that, then I see that as a repudiation.
Yeah.
So I agree. Big call by Saxon. we'll wrap it up there. So this has been an 80-20 issue of the Mainstream. You were 80% terrific and 20% informative.
Well yeah, real Pareto. Is it Pareto?
Pareto principle.
Pareto principle.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing that makes us the Mainstream, is that we are the 80%.
We're the 80%.
We're the 80%.
Join us next time. Thank you.